Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? I'm dying for sports. I'm at the point where I'm ready to watch some Korean baseball that will be displayed on ESPN. That's how much I am craving sports. And you're hearing Elton Brand is going to speak to the media tomorrow, and you're hearing some news about the NBA, some MLB rumors as well in terms of what actually is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to get my hopes up either. I just flat out don't know. But I do know that my mouth is watering when it comes to sports. I want to see legitimate professional athletes going up against each other and competing. Watching that Michael Jordan documentary got my juices flowing with just competition. I want to see competitors battle it out on the gridiron in their respected field. That's what I need right now. And then my brain started to move and to start thinking. And sometimes that's a very scary thing to happen. And I was just talking to myself. We've all been through that, whether it's in the shower, whether it's when you're eating cereal in the morning. You think to yourself. And I asked the question, man, if I could have one sport back right now, which one would it be? Or would I even sacrifice no sports to know that when it's September, football will be here? So will I sacrifice the summer, essentially, for football to return with no issues? And I want all of them back. Of course I do. And I was thinking, well, baseball would be awesome, but what about basketball playoffs? And the Flyers, man, they were red hot. But the Eagles, I don't want to have to push back the season 5 weeks, or who knows what's going to happen with football. They're going to release the schedule this week. What would I do? What sport would I pick? I took some phone calls. We will get into what you think. I will give my opinion as well. But before we do, let's hear a couple words from my sponsors. This episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. They set the standard for clean energy. Whether you are looking to add solar to your home or your company, Orbit Energy and Power works directly with you to ensure you are getting the best deal. Their team has over 20 years of experience and also worked on Lincoln Financial Field. That's not all. Orbit can also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So visit them online at orbitenergy.us or give them a call at 800-836-3987. Also, do not forget about Ravens Brew Coffee. This is the best coffee to ever touch my lips. They have so many unique blends. They have coffee for different times of the day, different caffeine levels. You know me, I'm addicted to coffee. I drink 3 million cups of Joe a day. And I've tried so many different kinds of coffee out there. Nothing compares to Ravens Brew Coffee. The link is in the description. Make sure you check it out. All right, so when I was contemplating which one to choose, I went through all the pros and cons of each sport. We'll start with the 76ers. I love basketball. I love playoff basketball. For some reason, there is nothing like it to me. I love football. I love the Eagles. Yeah. When it's playoff Sixers basketball, there's this feeling in my stomach that I can't even put into words. It's not a great feeling, to be honest with you, but that's why I know, or that's how I know that I care that much. Every dribble, every possession, I'm telling you, I'm 2 inches away from my television. You can see my spit on the TV when I'm just talking because I'm that close. And yes, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to Ben Simmons. I'm talking to the TV on what should actually go down in that specific sequence. That's how crazy I am when it comes to playoff hoops. If you ask me right now, which one would I love to see the most, it's playoff basketball. But if I'm going to tie in where the Sixers were this season at the time of the coronavirus and at the time of the NBA stoppage, I think I'm out on the Sixers. I don't think I would go with the rest of the NBA season, and that is because of where the Sixers were. I don't think they had enough this year. I don't think that they were very entertaining. It wasn't they were very conversational, but were they very entertaining? No, it wasn't a fun watch. It was more of a frustrating watch. It was annoying. It was hard. It was ugly. You had more pain involved this season than you did enjoyment. So from that circumstance, from a Sixers standpoint, I will say no on the NBA season coming back and the NBA playoffs, even though that is my favorite time of the year. That's my favorite playoff run. But because the Sixers were really disappointing and not entertaining whatsoever, I will shy away from the basketball playoffs returning if I had to choose one sport to come back. Let's go to baseball. Every day, for the most part, you get a game every single day. So if you are talking about only one sport being active, and to be fair, let's just factor in real quick golf, right? I mean, sports like that. I'm looking at the four majors. I'm looking at hockey, basketball, baseball, and football. If you want to choose golf, by all means, you're allowed to. If you would like to choose tennis or any other sport out there, by all means. Soccer, Premier League, MLS, you name it. If that's the way you would go, then by all means, you're allowed to have that opinion. I just would never pick those sports over the four majors, so I'm not even going to factor that in or even try and justify why I wouldn't pick those sports. So with baseball, though, if you are looking at wanting to be fulfilled and wanting to have something on the TV as much as humanly possible, since it's the only one that's active, you would put Phillies baseball into the equation. I'm going to relate this to the 76ers. I see too many holes on this team where I sense more bothered baseball than I would, this is fantastic baseball. Will there be moments? Sure. A Bryce Harper grand slam against the Cubs, walk-off grand slam, may I add. Zach Eflin throwing complete games. Aaron Nola getting 12 strikeouts. JT Realmuto with a cannon to throw everybody out at second base. Didi Gregorius making insane defensive plays. Rhys Hoskins with a bomb, maybe 2 bombs in a game. Maybe. I don't know. There will be moments. But let's dive into the back end of the rotation. Let's dive into the bullpen. There will be so many moments where I'm biting my fists. My face turns red. I'm super annoyed. This isn't fun. I think by the end, especially by the end of the season. All right. Hold on. Because if we're coming back now, well, if they're coming back right now in this scenario, yeah, they still have time to collapse in August, September. That's kind of where my mind is going right now. Will there be a collapse? Of course there will be a collapse. It's the Phillies we're talking about right now. Joe Girardi in the mix. Will that change the collapse or not? I would like to think so. I would like to hope so. But until that is proven to me, I will not get sucked in. I like the thought of baseball because there will be more games. Imagine if I pick the Sixers or the Flyers and there's 82 games. Yeah, that's a decent amount. They play on Tuesday. They don't play again until Friday. They play on Friday. They play Sunday, and then they're off till Wednesday. Well, what are you going to do in those other days? With baseball, it's they play at 7, they play at 7, they play at 7, they play at 7. One off day. They play at 7, they play at 4 o'clock on Saturday, they play at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Boom, it's Monday. Let's start another 3-game series. With that being said, though, because I don't think that they will be that successful this season, we're going to kick them to the side. Flyers. Wow. Was this a fun season? To think about Kevin Hayes, Claude Giroux, Travis Konechny, Matt Niskanen, Ivan Provorov, Scott Lawton of all people, Voracek, JVR, to think about the playoff run that they could have or could have had. And who knows if it will ever be a thing. We do not know at this point. To think, though, that if I was able to choose them to get back on that ice, that they would have a chance to fight for the Stanley Cup, whether it was a great chance or not. And when I say great chance, I'm talking compared to the Boston Bruins, compared to the Washington Capitals, compared to maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Tampa Bay Lightning, those type of teams. Are they involved with those teams? Who knows? But in the NHL, you don't need to be. You just need to have a red-hot goalie at the right time. You just need to be playing the best version of your hockey at the right time. And who's to say that could not have happened with this team? So it's going to hurt me to say that I will move the Flyers to the side as well. So essentially what I'm going with is, I would personally say, if we wipe out this summer, no sports, no finishing the NBA, no finishing the NHL, not even starting the MLB season and calling it a wash if need be. Even though I know they're talking about some sort of March Madness style tournament if they can't get a regular season in there. And I do think the MLB will come back at some point, whether it's 80 games or not, or this tournament, whatever. I think we'll see baseball. But if you told me you just get rid of everything, and in September, football is allowed to start, you get a clean season, you have fans in the building, you don't make the trip to Mexico and see the Jaguars get pumped on Sunday at 9 a.m. against some random team, whoever they play. You skip out on the overseas trip because it does seem like they're not going to make that happen, which is fine. But everything else is normal. You get fans, even if you don't get fans, and you get a regular season football schedule, and say there's no fans. I would sacrifice everything else to make sure the football season starts on time. And that's saying a lot. But I think that is the way that I would go. Now, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from the fans. I want to hear from everybody else. Because I had a lot of phone calls come in. I haven't heard any of these yet. I'm very curious to see the direction of this. See, I'm thinking, here's my thought. Because it's football, and everyone loves football. Even if your favorite sport is basketball, or your favorite sport is baseball, football's still king, no matter what. Just like the 76ers, they're my favorite. But the Eagles are number one, right? It makes no sense. I get it. You say that out loud, it's, what the hell are you talking about? That's just how football works. That's how the Eagles work. The National Football League is better than everything else. So I feel with these calls, you're going to get a lot of NFL. I could be wrong. I'd be shocked that there's a lot of basketball. If people went with basketball just because they like basketball and didn't factor in how bad the Sixers were this season, well then, okay, maybe you'll see some Sixers basketball in there. I'm so intrigued, though. There's so many different directions you can head in. Baseball plays a lot more. If you just want something on the TV that's relevant, will you just choose that because you get that more? Let's kick off these calls. But before we do, remember, this episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power, and they set the standard for clean energy. Whether you're looking to add solar to your home or company, they will work with you to ensure you are getting the best deal.
Hey, Bruce. If I were to pick one team, I think I would actually go with the Philadelphia Flyers, just because of how well they were playing before the break, and I think they have the best chance to win the championship out of any of the sports teams. If I were to pick another one, I would probably go the 76ers, just because they were just getting ready to go into playoff basketball, and playoff basketball is something special to watch. And I just hope they all come back sooner rather than later.
I do too. But listen, you only get one pick, and you went with the Philadelphia Flyers, and I'm stunned. I am stunned that the first call goes Flyers. But I like the fact that the mind was kicking, that the brain was moving. Who has the best chance to win the title right now in Philly? And how exciting is that the answer was the Philadelphia Flyers? Let's rewind to before the season even started. If I told you that the Flyers would be the hottest team in the city that would have the best chance to win something, wow, right? I mean, wow. To start off with a Flyers answer, I'm thrilled. Look at me. I'm smiling from ear to ear because I'm pumped up that the Flyers were that relevant this year.
Hey, Bruce. So in my opinion, I would have to say the NHL, just because of the Philadelphia Flyers' ability to win the Stanley Cup, and I think that's greater than any of the other sports teams that are currently playing now in Philadelphia, and I just hope they all come back so we can see what happens next.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't want them to rush it, and I don't want this to turn into, should they come back early? What should they do? I have no answers, right? I just want, if it takes time for them to make sure it's right, then so be it. I don't want them to rush back and then have to cancel things again. And, wow, this player got coronavirus, and they got all these testing done, but you get professional sports, all these testing, but the people who really need it aren't getting enough tests. I don't want to get into that stuff. Let's get into what really matters here. That really matters. Let's not take that out of context here. Coronavirus, that stuff really matters. In terms of this conversation, the Philadelphia Flyers just got 2 results. The Philadelphia Flyers, bang, bang, back to back. Woohoo! Alain Vigneault, are you kidding me? Alain Vigneault? Brian Elliott, Carter Hart, the boys got the city on fire. If the third call is the Philadelphia Flyers, I don't know what I'm going to do. I do not know what I'm going to do.
Yo, what's up, bro? It's a big fan of the podcast. If I could have any sports league back right now, I got to go with the 76ers. Playoff basketball. Love playoff basketball. And I feel like the Sixers could have made a deep run in the playoffs if they got their road woes out of the way. So, yeah, I would go with the 76ers. So thanks for your time, and see you later.
76ers killed the mojo there. Playoff basketball is phenomenal. But to think that they could have made a deep run. Now, I was the most optimistic in terms of where the team was compared to a lot of the fans. You know, I heard a lot of, they're going to lose in the first round. They're awful. They're just disgusting to watch. They're the worst team ever. And I sensed the overreaction. They weren't great by any means. My thought process with this team was, they're in the mix with everybody else in that 3 to 6 category. So could they have lost in the first round? Sure. Could they have won in the first round? Yeah. Could they have beat a second round opponent? Sure. I mean, it could have been a variety of different things. To automatically write them out in the first round, I wouldn't have went that far, but all around big picture, it wasn't as if that team was truly, I can't wait to sit on the TV and watch this team tonight because they're gonna be so entertaining. And the one thing that he mentioned on the phone call is he can't wait to get them back on the court, and hopefully they can get the road woes out of the way. Here's the thing. If they do come back, if the 76ers do play the rest of the regular season, and they do play in the postseason, there's no such thing as home court advantage. There's no such thing as an explosive Wells Fargo Center. You're going to be essentially, we're going to use air quotes here because everyone might be in the same place, but on the road. I don't know if they're going to be able to win basketball games at this point.
Hey, what's up, bros? So, if I had to pick any sports league to return right now, it would have to be the NHL, just because of the fact that, you know, the Flyers were on that run right now. They, you know, they're definitely on pace to go to the Stanley Cup, in my honest opinion. They definitely have a good shot. I am a 4-for-4 guy, but I do, like, watch a little bit of basketball more, but I would rather take hockey back right now because I do not see the Sixers winning right now, the championship. But yeah, I would much rather take NHL right now. I think the Flyers definitely would have a shot if the NHL did come back. I think we can definitely make a run for that cup.
See, here's the thing. Because everyone stopped for such a significant amount of time, even though the Flyers were playing unreal hockey, who knows? I mean, teams that sucked, the Red Wings, could be ready to come back and play good hockey. How are these athletes training? Are they staying on the ice? Are they staying in shape? Are they eating a bunch of Oreos? Are they working out? Are they boozing every single night? Who the hell knows? I mean, to expect the Flyers, and I'm not picking at you, I'm kind of spitballing in my own head. I told you, when my brain starts to move around like this, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. You just got to see, right? This is going to be a negative thought, clearly. How can I expect the Flyers to come in and just start dominating like they were playing before this all happened? Now, while I say that, why can't they be the team that does? Why can't they be the team that's ready to compete and really kick things off and be that squad that everyone's like, damn, the Flyers didn't lose a step? That's just as much of a possibility as them coming in and being slow, not being in shape, and not being ready to compete at a high level. It can go either way. It's so weird, though. This is just so weird. This is flat out the strangest thing I feel like I will ever experience in my life covering sports.
Hey, bros, I think the one sport I would want back, out of any of them, I would choose hockey because the Flyers have had a magnificent season this year, especially with Carter Hart and stuff, and we definitely could have made the playoffs if this didn't happen. I don't know if you think that, but again, like my list, I do.
Excuse me? I feel like I'm getting trolled. At this point, it's clear the mindset was similar for everybody. Who had the best chance? So it's not which sport do you love the most? Which sport do you get that extra juice for when you sit down at 7 o'clock? People interpreted this, and I don't think this is the wrong way to interpret it, but I'm just basing this off of the first 5 or 6 calls or so that I took. Who had the best chance? Let's just choose whoever had the best chance, so it's possible that Philadelphia could have a parade and there would be fans rolling through Broad Street, although maybe not because of this whole pandemic. I think that's a good way to look at this. I think it's a fair way to look at this. Why would you pick a team if the 76ers had 22 wins and the Flyers were in the first place in the Metropolitan just because you love basketball? Would you pick the team that had that many wins, that very little amount of wins, just because you enjoy the sport? I thought some people would think that way. There's plenty of people out there who don't give a damn about the Philadelphia Flyers. Do they choose the Philadelphia Flyers in that situation just because it's a team that was competing, or would they rather choose the Phillies because they love baseball that much, even though they weren't in a spot to really make a playoff push because the season didn't start yet? Or do they really even have that much of a chance to make a serious playoff push? There's some people out there that do believe the Phillies are ready to rock and roll, which is crazy because for the 3 millionth year in a row, there's no pitching.
What's going on, Hunter? If I could, it's a trick question you posed for me. Because if I could have any sport back, it would be football. But that being said, I feel so cheated as a hockey fan. And with the Flyers finally being on the cusp of a playoff berth and not being able to see what would have happened, so I would kind of lean a little bit for me toward the NHL. I just missed the NHL playoffs, the atmosphere, the crowd, everybody at, the Flyer games dressed in orange, the venom, the vitriol in the house, and to have that taken away after such a fun year. Right now, that would be my first choice, but yeah, if there's no football in the fall, I don't know. I don't know, but those would be my top 2 options.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to playoff hockey, as much as I just expressed my love for playoff basketball and that woozy feeling in my stomach when I'm watching possession by possession, I'm obsessed with the game. I watch the picks, I watch the screens, I watch who's rolling to the basket. Playoff basketball is just a legitimate different sport than regular season hoops, and it is fascinating to watch. With that being said, being a college athlete, playing college hockey, playing junior hockey, playoff hockey hits me different, but I've been pretty clear about my feelings on hockey from a sports broadcasting standpoint. It hits me different because as a player, I remember those times. It dates me back to those times. It's what you play for. I look at it more as a player, and I like analyzing it from a sports broadcasting point. It's just different. With that being said, though, yeah, playoff hockey, wow. Physical. The chirping. The hatred. You're 2 games into a 7-game series, and you're punching each other in the mouth after each whistle, and the blue paint just cross-checking each other because you accidentally touched the goalie's glove after the whistle, right? I mean, the pure hatred is unbelievable stuff. I love it. But it hits different. It hits me home like a player, and it gives me the goosebumps as a player in comparison to basketball, where I like have a notepad almost, and I'm writing down play-by-play and analyzing the play-by-play. With hockey, that almost comes second nature because I put myself in those positions before. I really don't know how to explain it or if this makes any sense, but it makes sense to me.
If I could have one sport back right now, it would definitely be basketball. It's my favorite sport, so, also the playoffs would probably come back too, so it's perfect timing, so yeah.
Nice and simple. Loves basketball. You would want basketball back. Playoffs would be coming around. I'm not going to knock him for that. I just wonder how he would feel if he's watching the 76ers and they get bounced early on, or if they have some turnover troubles, or if Ben Simmons is a liability in the half-court set, or, would it feel the same way as if, at least sports are back, at least I have something to watch, or it's back to pulling your hair out, let's fire Brett Brown, what's Elton Brand doing? How would the narrative change 1 week into sports, 2 weeks into sports? Related to the Eagles draft. Everyone was anticipating the Eagles draft to come back because it's something that matters. It's something that's meaningful. It's a very impactful weekend. 2 seconds in, the most insane outrage ever by Eagles Twitter specifically. And it went from, wow, at least something's back, to, I can't believe this and that, and freaking out, and the passion comes out, and, So with this basketball thing, if you choose basketball, if you choose hockey, and say you choose the Flyers because you just want a team that's relevant, and they come back and they're slow, 1 week in, 2 weeks in, are you still happy that there's at least a product on the ice? Or are you, why did I pick that? Could I go back in time? I can't believe I got to sit through this crap. What's Alain Vigneault doing with the lines? Did he really switch up the D pair? Why did he put Lawton on the fourth line? Why is Raffle on the second line? Where's Travis Konecny? Why did he switch up the power play? Are you going to be questioning Alain Vigneault to this elite level if things don't work out as planned and you're not as appreciative of the sport coming back anymore because things went a little south? What a funny scenario. I'm processing Flyers fans really ripping apart Alain Vigneault's choices. See, I like to listen to a lot of different markets out there when it comes to sports radio. Not so much anymore, but before in my life, I did a lot more than I do now. And Toronto was always a big one because I find it so interesting to hear a city talk about hockey the way that we here talk about the Eagles. You could talk about Carson Wentz versus Nick Foles any day. You could talk about that any day. You could talk about Ben Simmons' jump shot any day. You could talk about Doug Peterson, Howie Roseman, any day of the week. You can criticize his decisions from a game that happened 2 years ago. I mean, it could just happen in the flow of conversation with the snap of the fingers. In Toronto, they do that with hockey. Can you believe he was a healthy scratch? Could you imagine Philadelphia talking about who Alain Vigneault scratched that night? It would never happen. But if it was the only sport and the Flyers were struggling, would that then happen? I couldn't picture it. I would love to hear it happen. It probably would never. It's just funny to even process that happening here in Philly. All right, so there you have it. I would choose football. I think that would be very important to lay low for the summer, make sure everything's cool, bang, you start up September, let's go, let's ride, let's have Eagles football, and you just trash the rest of the seasons. If that means football will be ready to rock and roll in September, whether there's fans or no fans. The season hits, normal time, normal schedule, no flaws after that, let's roll with it. That's the way I would go. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And I will see you next time.